All right, so my Burlington had it. They had the brand new, about a month and a half old, Lattafa Fakhar, that's Fahkar, not the bad word. $29.99 for a 100 ml bottle, eau de parfum concentration. Let's go ahead and open it up and talk about all those super fun notes. So get the nasty cellophane off. Let's talk about the notes real fast. This is going to open up with bergamot cardamom, as I almost fall down on my chair. We got bergamot, cardamom, pink pepper in the opening, middle notes of guava, lavender, and ginger. That's the part I'm most interested in, followed by base notes of sandalwood, palo santo, and incense. All sounds very, very nice. Let's go ahead and do the unboxing. Still sticky on there. Oh, my cat fell off. I ruined the whole presentation. Oh well. Let's go and get it off of there, and bam. I assume they call it platine because that's like platinum. That's the kind of look. They've had Fakhar gold, black. There's a pink one out there. I have all of them, and they're all very nice. So hopefully this one will be very nice as well. It's not very old. I believe the bottling date on this is probably sometime in May. If I had to guess, that yeah, it was bottled. Yeah, May of 2025. So this may need to do that M word where certain Middle Eastern fragrances need to mature in the bottle, but maybe not. We'll find out. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit and talk about the process. As always, the way we do it here is we do paper, then we do skin. That just gives you the first impressions, kind of what to expect in the opening. Then it's gonna blip or it's gonna transition for a second, and then we're gonna talk about, after I've worn it for a few days, for you to be a couple seconds, and we'll talk about all the various things like longevity, performance, projection, all that fun stuff, and including how the dry down notes kind of present themselves over time. So let's go with it. Empty, new bottle. There we go. Let's get it really good now there. Just go for it. Get it all over my black background. All right, let's go. Oh, that's nice. Okay. It's definitely very masculine, but it's also very, that lavender comes out quickly on paper. There's cardamom. It's very sweet in the opening. The bergamot isn't really a big player in the opening on paper. It's there. There's a little bit of citrus, but it's not like a bomb of citrus in the opening. All right, let's do skin real fast. Probably too much, honestly, but we'll survive. All right, so far I'm liking this. The cardamom comes out a little stronger along with the bergamot on skin. The pink pepper isn't quite so strong, but yeah, so that's really nice. That's like a really addictive kind of smell to it. You get some guava. Guava notes are hard to do. Like I've never really smelled one that's like a photorealistic guava. It's usually like a little bit of synthetic kind of notion to it, but it's very, very clean smelling. And the lavender doesn't come out quite so hard as it did on paper. Like on paper, I could smell the lavender pretty quickly, even though it's a middle note. On skin, those opening notes and the guava are probably the main players. And as I'm smelling it in the first minute or so, the guava starts coming out pretty quickly because those opening notes tend to fade a little fast. The ginger is in there. It kind of cuts it, gives it a little bit of almost like a little bit of a sourness to it, but not like sour candy, but just a little bit to kind of take the edge off the sweetness of the guava. But yeah, oh, that's really nice. So far, as long as this thing has some decent projection longevity, this is an easy blind buy in my opinion. But yeah, we'll jump back in. It'll be a few days for me, a couple seconds for you, and we'll see you then. All right, we're back. I've worn this for several days. In fact, I had it for well over a week at this point. This is a very nice fragrance. That's gonna be my first assertion with regards to it. Let's go ahead and talk first about the longevity and projection. So if you have ever purchased any part of the Fakhar line from Lattafa, so this is obviously a flanker, but even though it doesn't really have any relation to other smells in the line, but just similar bottle structure. Probably the most popular one, something called Fakhar Black. It's a YSL Y clone, and it's notorious for being an excellent fragrance. It smells amazing, but the longevity on that one just is not there. That is not the case here. This has great longevity and some very good projection. So much so that I would almost not call this necessarily office safe as to like put on and then go right into the office. If I were going into work, I'd spray it, let it sit for about an hour, and then go to my place of work. This is not something you would ever put on the car before you walk in. That might get you get some heads turning in the wrong way, just because it does project very loudly for at least the first hour. After that, it fades down, but it does project beyond your arm's length for probably 4+ hours. On skin, you're gonna get through your entire day with this. You're gonna get the dry down smells are definitely gonna be present on your skin when you, obviously when you first spray, and then when you drive into work and you work all day and then you come back from work, you're driving home, you will still smell this on you, on your clothing. It just will be at that point in the evening part of the day, probably be more of a skin level scent. It's not gonna be projecting much at all at that point. Someone who gives you a hug, they'll smell it on you. Someone who's standing 5 feet away from you won't. So that's kind of what you get from the projection and longevity. Now, as far as those other notes, so when I first sprayed this on, obviously I mentioned that you get the citrus, you get the in the form of bergamot, so a little bit bitter citrus. The cardamom, in my opinion, is actually pretty strong in the opening. And there's also a lot of guava and lavender. The guava is definitely the most noticeable, more interesting note here. The cardamom's there, just kind of, I would just call that general cardamom-y sweetness to it. But the guava is definitely there. It is a more synthetic kind of style guava. So it's not bad. It kind of has almost like a tropical laundry detergent kind of vibe to it. Not offensive in any way, but if you are someone who does not like synthetic notes, you might not like that, because guava is not an easy note to replicate in a natural way. That's why most laundry detergents that are tropical and have guava smell synthetic, because they are. But it's the same thing here. You also get that ginger, but definitely the guava takes center stage early on. As it dries down, as that guava fades away, you get the lavender, the ginger, and the final like dry down base notes that you're gonna really kind of end up with for probably the back half of your day is gonna be that sandalwood, the Palo Santo, and the incense. Some people say the incense is very strong. I personally did not get a lot of incense out of this. If anything, it kind of just meshes in with that the Palo Santo kind of wood smell. It doesn't really like, nothing about this really strikes me as being smoky. And that's when I think of incense, I think of like a smoky kind of acrid masculine smell. I don't get that from this. I get a masculine woody smell on the dry down, but I don't find it to be a smoky, incensey kind of fragrance. But yeah, $29 at Burlington's what I picked this up for, and probably in 6 months you'll find it much cheaper in various locations online at discounters. It's an excellent option. It's very well done. It smells wonderful. It's a little bubblegummy in the opening because all that guava and sugar and sweetness, but it does have a very nice, dry, clean, masculine dry down. So overall, full marks, excellent. It has, especially when you think about projection and longevity. For the price point, this is excellent for what it does. So yeah, that's Fakhar Platin from Lattafa. Thank you all so much for watching.